So,
We're back for more fun with the elements.
more fun with the elements. So I know yesterday was, anytime we kind of get trapped in that theoretical place or, just mental gymnastics, and it can get really
Well, it's tough because
squirrely,
it's
right?
such a
So-
different way of thinking about the nature of reality, because so much of what we do is holding a different hypothesis about the nature of our reality, right? And how the external world relates to our internal world, the connection between them. But for most of us, we're raised in a culture that's so is looking for the absolute truth and looking for it in matter. So we're breaking things down. We're trying to understand them more clearly, and so it's like we can't get rid of that. It's like we know too much now to say, well, it's like we know that science isn't bullshit. So it's like, so how do we make the bridge between something that's so old and so ancient and traditional and all these things, and understood by magicians and mystics and these people that had a different worldview. How do we tie these things together to make it not just as a fun mental exercise, but to make it work for us in our life, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is you need to have an understanding that will physically produce something, right?
Right.
You need to have an effect.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just like, well, read a novel or
Right. Exactly. You want to produce an effect, and one that's different from what you already have. So, we're going to try our best to make the link, and I try to do it as simply as I can, right? Where are these things woven together? How do they relate? And not only how do they relate, but, how can I work with these? How can I do something to build them up and produce a different effect? Mm-hmm. Within the construct of what I'm doing, right? Because we have a want. We've had a want for 40 days now. Okay, so now we're trying to drive it home, right? So, and we don't want to trip on this last segment of the elements, even though again it could be blown up. I mean, it could be a course by itself, right?
Well,
and it is.
Ultimately, we will do a complete.
I mean, it has to be. I mean, we're really using a superficial sort of overview of it, right, without getting into too many details, because we want people to be able to utilize it, at least the basic aspects of it, get a taste of it, but also be able to funnel it into helping them produce what they want.
Right.
And so the first part of that is just having that mental construct in place. Mm-hmm. And
with the correspondences.
With the correspondences,
yesterday.
right. And just sort of giving them a brief overview. And I know it's a lot to take in, even at that cursory level. It's a lot to take in. So let's try to ground it a little bit more. Let's throw a little earth on it, right, and sort of bring it home. And so, if we've said that our physical bodies are those elements as well, right, combinations of those elements, and we have physical representations of that within us. So, again. Fire being, digestion and metabolism, and air being our respiration, whether it be through the lungs and nose and all of that, but also through the pores of our skin, right? Mm-hmm. So we've done the pore breathing and all of that. So it sort of facilitates that, right? So there's the connection there. Water, that we're mostly water, right? And also that emotional aspect that goes with that, but all of the water in our body, from saliva to tears to blood, obviously that's all in that water realm, right? So, and the earth, so the more dense matter, muscles and ligaments, tendons and bones, the most dense, teeth, all of that. So that earth element, that solid part. So again, how do we build those up using this idea? We can't just take the idea and sort of implant the idea and think that that's going to build up these elements within us, right? So we have to have a bridge. We have to have something, some practice that sort of integrates the idea with the physical part of us, right? So I like to do these, outside, but we'll just mention at the end that there's another way to do it, right? So, but when I'm doing that, I'll go outside hopefully on a sunny day if I'm doing fire, right? So if I'm choosing a day to do this, I go outside on a sunny day, and the sun, the physical sun represents that element of fire, which is bigger than just the sun. It's all the stars, it's all the light, it's all the heat, it's the expansion, right? So the expansion of our galaxy, the expansion of our universe, right? So all of that is fire oriented. So, and within the domain of the element of fire. So I want to incorporate that into my physical, my vessel representation of that fire, which is my digestion, on this level, my digestion, and also my metabolism, right? So do I have enough energy through the day? Am I really breaking down my food well? So that's all fire inside, right? We use acid to break down the food. That's pretty fiery. Ask anybody with reflux, right? It burns, it's fire, it's hot. Okay, so and when we get overheated, that's our metabolism being it's turned up. We're really overwhelming our system, right? So, but for some people they're always chilly, so bringing up that metabolism is a good thing. So we want to balance those out, and we do that by making that connection with the physical connection in our body with the representation of that fire element. And so I do it again with something we've already used, which is an open-ended question, right? So I'll stand in the sun. If you're really fair, put a hat on or whatever. I mean, you don't have to do this for long periods of time, right? But I'm standing in the sun. I'm exposed to it on as much of a level of my body as I can, right? And I'm closing my eyes, or you can keep your eyes open. I just tend to close and take out more of the distraction. It's just nicer to be able to focus on it, right? I feel the heat and the warmth of my body. I see the light coming even through my eyelids, right? So all of those things I've accepted as a correspondence with fire. And I just ask in my mind, well, first I bring up, okay, that's related to my metabolism. Okay, that's related to my digestion. So I'm making that conscious link. And then I'm asking myself, my open-ended question, right? What is it like to have, a perfect digestive system? That perfectly, any way you want to word it, perfectly breaks down food, makes the assimilation of all the nutrients, at its optimal level. What's it like to have the metabolism that I have, all the energy that I need and some to spare, and that I can regulate my metabolism up or down depending on what I need at the time. So if I need to build up my heat, I can. How do I keep my body weight in control? All of those things, which are all guided a lot by metabolism, right? And digestion, assimilation of all these nutrients. So, and I'm just asking those open-ended questions. I'm making the link between the two by asking those questions, right? I'm asking an open-ended question. I'm waiting for a response, and the response comes in the form of me focusing on, the light, the heat, the sun. Maybe some people will see, a representation of the sun in their stomach area, or in their thyroid area for metabolism, or just encompassing their whole body. They become the sun. It's that link that we're looking for, and having your mind ponder that open-ended question. And that open-ended question, even though it's in your mind or you're speaking it out loud, right, you're actually asking it again on a personal level to that element, because that element as an energetic sort of construct is still an aspect of the one, right? So what's the difference between asking that and asking a rock if I'm going the right way on the trail, or whatever? Any aspect is still an aspect of the one. We come back full circle again, right? So, and I do that with each of these elements, right? So I'm asking it, and so the one answers me through the element of fire in this case. As I ask it, I'm waiting for a response, and I'm expecting a response. I'm waiting for a response. And as I go back in my daily life, I'm looking for evidence that that's becoming, more profound in me. It's getting to the place where I want it to be. So it's coming into balance. Whether I need more or I need less, I'm bringing it into balance. I want to know what it feels like to be perfectly in balance with that, have that element perfectly balanced within me. And I do that with each, right? So I'll stand on a calm day, breezy day. I want to feel the air around me. So it's the same thing, right? I'm looking at, I'm sort of envisioning myself, you know, as I feel the breeze kind of ebb and flow. I mean, this is the respiration of the planet, right? So, and the air element, right? So it's not just the air here on this planet, but, you know, the sort of the air or vapors of everywhere, right? So it could be the gases or surrounding, you know, another planet, you know, it doesn't matter. It's all part of that same element. Again, it's not confined to just this earth, right? So, but for our purposes, we're looking for that, you know, that ebb and flow. We're really looking for that sensation. And how is that represented? What question am I asking? I may be asking something like, you know, what is it like to have, you know, perfect respiration, you know, perfectly balanced respiration through the pores of my skin, opening and closing, through my breathing, you know, my sinuses open, my lungs open, not being hyper-reactive to allergens, and all of these things, whatever little things people have, there's no limit here.
Clear,
you know?
thinking as well. Yeah.
Clear thinking on a mental level, right? Air going to the mental aspect, right? So fire going to the inspirational aspect. You know, I want to be more inspired to do something. But as far as the physical part, which is what we're working on, the bridge, the communication between the element and us, we want to build that bridge on a physical level. So when I make that sympathetic link, you know, I feel the air as it's moving to and fro or whatever, coming at me from different directions. How is this, you know, this is contact and represented. How is that breathing? You know, how is it that respiration relate to my respiration? Is it calmer? You know, am I able to breathe deeper through the day? Again, am I less affected by allergies? There's practical applications here. It's not all just, you know, high magic, right? It's like, you know, you can't do high magic if you're, you know, wheezing all the time, right? So it's like you want to go from that base level of balancing all of these things, because as they're balanced, the capacity for more is there. But it's got to be built, just like we talked about in the gym. You've got to build the steps. You've got to make your respiration really efficient, right? And that the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, you know, moving out of the lungs, and oxygen moving in, and everything else that has, right? It's also my you know, the other things in the air, right? So it's my sense of hearing. You know, can you isolate your hearing? And what is the wind? How does that sound? You know, different running across the grass or in an open desert than it is running on, you know, on the top of a lake or running through the trees. You know, how is that enhancing my hearing? Maybe if I have tinnitus or whatever, you know, it's like, what does it sound like when the wind is still? What does stillness sound like? You know, what is it like to have perfect hearing? You know, what is it like to have an exquisite sense of smell? Some people don't. They are, certain areas are left out for them, right? So we can, you know, bring it to these sensory organs as well. And just so that we're complete, you know, fire goes to vision. So it's like, you know, what is my eyesight like? You know, can I, you know, making this stronger connection with the elements, will it have a positive effect on my vision? You know, it's a very practical application. Yes, you know, we're looking at it for, you know, for the, you know, the extreme, and we always want to push it toward the most that we can get out of it. But why not start with those base things that we utilize every day? They affect us every day, and if they affect us in a good way, aren't you going to feel better every day? And if you feel better every day, isn't that one more thing to be grateful for? And if you can build up that gratitude, well, we've already been there and I don't want to make it cry again. So we're on with the elements. So it's like, but that's the idea, right? We want to make it practical. It's not just about some transmutation or, you know, manifestation or whatever. It's like, this is also manifestation, you know, to be able to stand in the wind or the air element and connect with it on a level that causes you to have free sinuses if you've always been allergy prone. I'd say that's a win-win situation, right? I mean, that's a pretty big one. If you can get it to take, you know, tamp down your tinnitus or whatever, that's a huge thing, right? So if you've always had problems with your vision and you can get the fire element to, in the connection of opening that up, and that causes that to resolve or get better even. I mean, that's something that's pretty objective. When you make your notes and, you know, you go back to your eye doctor and they're saying, wow, you know, what happened? You know, your vision's a little bit better. What's going on with that? I don't know. That's usually what I say. I don't know. No sense of getting into that with them. But that's the idea, right? So, and from that practical exchange and that building that connection stronger and stronger, you know, can't we see that in doing that, we're actually enhancing our whole lives? Even if one aspect is becoming stronger, it's bringing that balance into play, right? And so if I'm moving on and we're going to the water, and water being represented by all the fluid in our body, in our blood, you know, there are, and asking, you know, what is it like to have, you know, a perfect circulatory system? You know, what is it like to have that? You know, I can think of too many things to be counted off as far as circulation goes, right? From peripheral neuropathy, you know, which is nervous system, but related to circulatory system, to clogged arteries, right? From maybe things that you've imbibed in a little bit too much or whatever, you know, circulation and flexibility, arthritis, right? More circulation going to the joints, taking away those inflammatory factors. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? So, you know, what is it like to have a perfect circulatory system? You know, whatever that means to that person, right? And connecting with that element of water, right? So you could be standing next to a babbling brook, you could be standing next to a pond, you could be standing next to the ocean, obviously, you know, or anything, and all of those things. You could be standing in the rain. There's something, again, that's been sorely missed by being in the environment and doing these practices.
Or by not being in them.
By not being in them, or not, you know, pushing students to get out there and experience it firsthand through these conduits, through these bridges of the physical elements. You know, being a sympathetic link to this larger energetic construct and relating it to our physical bodies. You can't go wrong there. You're not wasting your time. And it could bring you to such a practical benefit that even what you wanted to begin with is like, that, you know, I don't have tinnitus anymore. What the hell? That's even better than what I wanted to begin with, you know, or, you know, these things are resolving. And I'm not going to say they're resolving on their own, because you're taking the time to actually put an emphasis on building that connection and asking those open questions, you know, those open-ended questions. In doing so, you're asking, you know, your subconscious, your operating system with God, you know, like, what is it like? It hates unanswered questions. It's just part of our makeup, right? So it's going to, it's going to try to answer that question whether you're conscious of it or not. And one of the ways that it does that is by showing you what that is. You know, what is it like? Well, this is what it's like. You know, it's not going to pop out and say, well, it's kind of like this and like this and like this. You know, it's like, I know, but what does it feel like to have that? What is it like to experience that? Well, the only way I can give you that experience is to show you. to let you have that experience, and then you tell me what that's like. And so water, right? So then we go to earth. And again, there's nothing wrong with, like, as kids, we love to go barefoot, right? And, not just walking on the beach, but in the backyard, in the grass, in the ground, digging our feet into the soil and, working with that, or digging with our hands in the garden. There's all of these experiences that we can have with, sort of working with the earth and asking, our open-ended question, really, making that connection that any earth or any stone is just a link, an aspect of that energetic element of earth, and asking it, what is it, and knowing that that's part of our system, from the smallest mineral particle in our bloodstream to our bones, our teeth, our nails, anything that has that high mineral contact, our hair. Right? So all of those mineral substances, I mean, how many people have osteoporosis now? How many people have, yes, if you keep eating things and doing things that, have that, make that transition, yeah, you need to stop that. But if you're doing all the right things and you're still experiencing that, maybe what we need to do is have this, stronger connection and ask these questions. Just ask, what is it like, to have, these very, a strong skeletal system, a strong bones and teeth, strong nails, adequate, hair, or whatever, make up your own, your own scenario, whatever it is that's important to you. What's it like to be as solid as the earth in my practice? Where does that stability come from? Where does that solidity come from? And how do I apply it in my practice? What's it like to be as solid as a rock, as the old saying would be, in my practice? What's that feel like? And the next day, or that day even, if you have that inspiration to go and do more and continue with these practices, that will give you a very strong impression of what that is like. So again, we're using the link between the physical element with the physical element within us to access that larger energetic construct.
The larger energetic construct
being the element
of that element.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then again, when you do that enough times, even once, and you go through, let's say you go through the whole cycle of all four elements. Remember I said how in the beginning we said, that at least in the Western tradition, the spirit element, or that, universal consciousness, is accessible to the degree that those elements are balanced. It's sort of, so it doesn't overwhelm us, basically. So we've already done, a practice like that, right? The practice of the presence of God again. So when we go back to do that practice again, after we've done these elements practices, right, and linked that, and we've balanced or built those areas up, what do you think's going to happen when you go to do that practice again? You're going to get more. You're going to have a deeper experience. You're going to have more access. More is going to be given to you. And this is how, again, we make this feedback loop connect. And of course that's inspiring, right? And so then we go and we kind of keep the ball moving, right? We've got momentum going now, and now it's getting pretty exciting. And of course, the more access we have with that, we take it back to our want, right? What do we want? And so all of those feed back into all of the practices. You have more access with that source, right? Because the elements not have only built up the elements within you, but also those sensory apparatuses, right? That are linked to that. So, and, in our envisioning of what it is that we want, and, we've activated our sight or our vision with the sun or the fire, right? And so now we can visualize even better. We can hear it and smell it, whatever it is, even better. We have more tactile sensation from the earth. We have more taste sensation from the water. right? So, and air, of course, for the other two. So all of those, we keep building it more and more. We get more and more out of those sensory apparatuses, whether we're using them physically or in our imagination, in our minds, and making these constructs within our minds. We make it more, and of course, the stronger they are, the more emotion is around them, right?
The more we feel.
The more we feel, stronger they are, the more we feel, till it gets to a certain, basically a certain percentage, or I don't want to make it too straightforward, but, when it accumulates that much mass of feeling, it drops down, it stabilizes itself and presents itself in our environment. Again, back to the beginning. So we're doing it on small levels, then we're doing it on big levels, and they all sort of interweave and support each other in that construction. So again, these aren't just random exercises. They do feed into our primary purpose when we started this. It's like, what do you want? How do I, here's what I want. How do I get that? Well, here's all these little exercises to do and to try to, build that out for you. But this is one that continues to add to it and give it more juice, basically. And along the way, even by itself, is giving you more and more benefits, in your daily existence, which brings more gratitude, which pretty soon everything's, life is beautiful. I'm walking through my day in a good way. That's it. And so, they work together. It's how to build a life. And make every aspect of your life sort of contribute, and that's cycling back and forth, and again making these feedback loops that feed into making you feel like you love your life.
Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday when I was walking around. I was kind of thinking about how for a lot of us it's like we don't feel at home, like in ourselves, or in our environments, or maybe even in the world, or there's some, there's a lot, for a lot of us, there's a lot of like, we feel a lot of disconnection, whether it's either like to each other or something greater than ourselves or whatever. But, as you're talking and going through these exercises, it's like you're really immersing yourself, your consciousness, your awareness in your body, but also in your environment. It's like you're really like getting to know. It's like, I don't want to make it trite, like getting to know the world in a new way or whatever, but it's like you're just by bringing your attention to the these elements of nature, it's like you're really, it's like becoming more immersed, more at home, more completely present in this place.
Right.
And that's a beautiful thing, because there is so much disconnection, and there is so much not feeling comfortable where you are, or not at home, or not safe, or this or that or the other thing,
Sure, and it's a back and forth too, right? So it's like as you feel more comfortable with that which seems to be exterior to you, it becomes more comfortable with you and claims you, right? So it's like this back and forth. You feel as though you become an active part of this environment, not just something that moves around within it.
Right.
You're part of it.
Right.
And the more of those connections, those feelers that go out and connect to all of these things, you become an intricate part of this whole phenomena. And that's huge. That's a huge feeling. That's peak experience. And again, one more thing to be grateful for. There you have
it. It's like, when you like are at a concert or whatever, and you're listening to this like beautiful piece of music, or and everybody like claps at the end or whatever, and but I kind of feel like when we're having these conversations, it's like I feel like, okay, now we got to wrap it up and say thanks for watching. See you later, and see you next time, and but
really what you want to do is light the lighter and say encore. Give us more, one more song. I
just want to be like, dude, take it in. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Is it good for you? You know,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It's like, I hope the feeling comes across anyway.
Yeah.
And the practice definitely will. If you do it, you will have that sense. And send us your experiences, send us your questions, talk to us. And if it's not quite what you're looking for as far as the experience goes, maybe we can tweak it. I can answer the questions and adjust it a bit to get you into that place where that's going to be just as good for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we got a lot more of that to look forward to.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.